Okay, well, where does this story start? It starts with this young man here. That's my brother Gareth, at the age of 17, graduating from high school. And about a year after that photo was taken, Gareth was dead. He died in a tragic boating accident, and my life changed forever. And that led to 2 years of a downward spiral of this, booze and drugs, and it was a time when I really didn't understand where I fit in the world, or even if the world itself had any logic or justice to it. But at the bottom of that hole that I dug for myself, I remembered a dream that I'd had as a child. And that dream was related, well, it was related to this place here, the Himalayas. And because when we were kids, my mom used to bring us to the library every Saturday morning in Belfast in Northern Ireland. And I was attracted to those books by mountaineers that had the glossy photo inserts with pictures of men up on these crystal peaks with bright white snow all around and endless blue skies. It was completely the opposite to how I felt in that time after Gareth's death. And so I wanted to go there. I saved my money, I packed my bags, and I went to this place, which is Ladakh, in the very far northwest of India. And the Himalayas did not disappoint. I ended up spending 8 years there, and it was an amazing time for me. It was a time when I reconnected with my faith in humanity and my love of landscape, and it was a time when I pared my life down to essentials, to simplicity and purity. But I had a problem with it because every summer I had to go back home and work to continue that lifestyle. And it was difficult for me to transfer that life of decency and goodness into the work environment. And so I asked myself, what am I not understanding about this place? How come I'm not able to completely integrate the wisdom and compassion that I'm gaining in the Himalayas? And so I thought I didn't have a complete understanding, and so therefore I thought, I'm going to approach this the way I would learn a language. I'm going to completely immerse myself in this place. So I came up with a crazy idea that I would walk alone 2,700 kilometers across the western Himalayas. And I did that, and it was a time of magic. It was an extraordinary time when extraordinary events happened every day. And I attribute a lot of that to the fact that I was walking so much. I was walking 30 to 40 kilometers every day. And we all know that walking is our most basic motion, but I also believe that walking is our most liberating motion. It's what we have developed as. We are bipedal animals. And when you're walking 10 to 12 hours a day, that walking becomes a meditation. And when you're meditating that much, you are completely open and vulnerable to the environment around you. And into that openness, the magic came. And when I finished the walk, I went to Dharamsala in the Indian Himalaya, which is the home and exile of His Holiness the Dalai Lama. And there I spent 3 months bringing together the notes that I'd taken on the trek and writing a book. And at the end of that time, I had a book and I was very proud of myself, and I took a couple of days off. And then I went back to start the editing process. And pretty soon into that, I realized that what I had there was a piece of junk. And nobody was going to read this book. Nobody was going to publish this book. And there was a real sense of frustration for me because I am a storyteller. And as I've said, magic happened every day on this walk. So what was I missing? What was I not understanding about the Himalayas? And I thought that the key must be that I wasn't fully aware of the people and the landscape there. So I spent years after that researching the history, the flora, the fauna, the geography, the geology, the meteorology, and on and on and on. I'm bringing this all into the text until I had another draft. And then I went through that draft and realized, okay, yeah, I'm coming to a much more complete understanding of this magnificent place, but it's still not tapping into my connection with the Himalayas. So I decided to take a different angle on the research. There must be something about the spirituality, the religion of that place. And I'd walked through Muslim, Buddhist, and Hindu areas. So more years after that of researching the spiritual geography of the Himalayas and incorporating that into the text, more drafts, more reading, the realization now that what I had was a very layered and complex biography of the greatest mountains in the world, but still not enough about what they had actually done for me. And about that time, I was living in Kathmandu in Nepal, and I gave the manuscript to a friend there, and she read through it, and a couple of days later, we sat down over dinner, and the basis of her critique around the manuscript was that she thought there was another story going on in the background, a subconscious narrative to the actual walk. And, I was nodding politely, but in the back of my mind, I was saying, she doesn't understand. This is my book about my trek through my Himalayas. But a couple of days later, I was editing the section of the book where I reached the source of the Ganges, and that was an absolutely magnificent day. It was one of those days that's just etched in my mind. And as I was coming out of the meditation that I use around my editing process, I had this realization, a sense of deja vu. I had been there before, and that feeling was related to my connectedness to the place, the feeling of stillness, the particular light, and in a realization, I knew that the last time that I had had that feeling was when I saw my brother's body, dead, in a hospital morgue in Canada. And that was it. The lights went on, the fireworks went off. And I knew that, of course, what was I thinking? What was this story all about? Well, it was the universal narrative that we all have to deal with in this life, which is the coming to terms with the death of a loved one. And now I know that Gareth, yes, he pushed me to the Himalayas, but it was walking in the Himalayas that brought me an understanding of his death and what it meant. Thank you very much.
If you go to this supermarket and shouting, I want to buy peace of mind, then people laughing, or people feel that person's mind is something wrong.
Now, this word connections is a really interesting one because our kids today are more connected than ever.
Of course, then when you're in an institution, people call you up. They tell you to perk up. Yeah, perk up, because I didn't think of that.
I should have a happiness project, I decided. As soon as I have some free time, I'm going to do that.